What is up, guys? Today I'm going to be going over why I think Star Wars The Clone Wars was an awesome TV show that needs to come back. Here's looking at you, Disney. You own Star Wars now, you got the power, you gotta make it happen. And we all know Disney loves profit. I'm going to give you 7 reasons why I think Disney can gain profit, why people want to watch The Clone Wars. Because let's face it, it was an amazing show. Without further ado, let's get this list started. The first reason why I think Star Wars The Clone Wars was an amazing show, I guess this isn't really a reason as much as it's getting past certain logistics of the show, and that's the fact that the animation and the voice acting was surprisingly easy to get used to, and it was getting better every season. Now this point is really for some of the people that are hesitant to watch the show because they think the animation looks goofy, and it's not all the same voice actors, and it's not authentic Star Wars. Now honestly, I was one of these people very early on, and I thought it was weird the first episode or two, but after that, you really just started to get used to it, and it felt really like normal Star Wars to you. So, really not a big reason not to watch it. You'll actually find that it gets pretty good. So, yeah. Reason number 2. This is a pretty big reason, and it's the fact that it takes us deeper into the universe we know and love, and adds a whole lot more to talk about that is considered canon. Now the thing is, there's not a lot that's considered canon anymore, you know? After the EU was discontinued as canon, all we have are the main movies, the Clone Wars, Rebels, we have a few canon books, of course we have the spin-off films like Rogue One, but that's about it. So if you want to talk more about Star Wars and get really deeper into the universe, you have to look outside the movies. And the Clone Wars is one of the biggest places you can find. There's 6 seasons of this, and there's so many new characters, planets, species, weapons, vehicles, all this stuff that all the hardcore fans want to talk about. All the detail that goes into this just really adds a whole nother level of conversation. I think that's one of the main reasons why this show is so engaging and so addictive, really. Reason number 3 is that Star Wars The Clone Wars expands on characters that we don't see much of in the movies. These are characters like Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, all these Jedis on the High Council that we maybe see speak 1 or 2 lines during the movies. We don't know anything about them. And there's a lot in the expanded universe about them, but that's not canon, like I said. The Clone Wars is canon, and we can actually see how these characters interact with other people and get to kind of know their personality. So, for example, Kit Fisto, really awesome looking, tentacles, really cool design Jedi. What do we see him in the movies? He, force pushes C-3PO as a droid and smiles, and he gets totally destroyed by Sidious in like one hit. So he's pretty friggin' lame, according to the movies. Now, we see him in the Clone Wars. He goes toe-to-toe with Grievous. This guy's funny. He has a personality. He has kind of a Jamaican accent, which is kind of interesting. And there's just so much more to his character. Same with tons of characters. So I think that's one thing that's really cool about the Clone Wars. It really adds to characters that we don't see much of. Reason number 4 is that it fixes many of the mistakes that the prequels made and actually makes the era of the Republic and the Jedi Council more enjoyable. Now personally, I'm a huge fan of this era. I love how the Jedi Council and the Senate, the Republic, how they all interact and how they're really trying to battle the Separatists and the Trade Federation. There's a lot of politics involved that I find very fascinating because it really is, in a way, relatable to the politics of the real world. But the problem is, George Lucas does not know how to write politics as we see in The Phantom Menace, and the prequels suffer really from making no sense whatsoever in the political arena, and I think The Clone Wars actually fixes this in many regards. I think this is something that makes this show so much more engaging to an older, slightly more mature audience. We can kind of see the political manipulation going on, and we can kind of see how the Republic is crumbling from within that leads up to Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And I think that is one thing that really stands out about this show. And of course the prequels are still there, their mistakes are still there, but I think it really does fix a lot of them and make that era a lot more interesting to talk about and to watch. Reason number 5. Anakin is not a whiny bitch in the Clone Wars. He's actually a funny, relatable, and kind of badass character. Now, I think the part I like the most about Anakin is the sense of relatable anger. Now, see, in the prequels, a lot of times when Anakin was angry, he felt like a raving lunatic, like an absolute crazy person. You know, at the best of times, he was whiny and annoying, and at the worst of times, he was completely insane. Now, in the Clone Wars, his anger is actually quite relatable. Bringing guys to a specific example, there's an arc with the Zygerian slave empire where Anakin and Ahsoka go to this empire, and Anakin hates these people. He's very angry and very hostile towards them because they own slaves, and he was a slave. So he has that personal, trauma, that connection that makes him very angry towards these people, and we can kind of relate to that. He force chokes one of those guys, wants to kill him, says, Zygerian scum, and stuff like that. We also see where he force chokes, I believe it's a Geonosian, just to try to get information out of him, because Anakin's approach is a lot different because of his anger. And we see these subtle steps to the dark side, which I find very fascinating, because really in Revenge of the Sith, it's not so subtle, it happens very quickly, and it feels disconnected because the movie's so short. It's not that the movie really is too short for a movie's sake, but to see Anakin's progression elongated in a TV show is actually quite amazing, and really adds a lot of depth to Anakin as a character. Another part I think is very interesting is how Anakin disagrees with the Jedi Council and a lot of the Jedi's teaching. An example of this would be the arc where, I think it's called the Citadel arc, and there's a part where he's talking to a younger version of Tarkin, and kind of talking about how the Jedi, they're too weak. They can't get anything done because they won't kill people. They won't, go out of their way to be more violent, or they don't act quick enough. And he really disagrees with the Jedi in a lot of the things, and this kind of shows how he can really be manipulated by these feelings, and really why he has such a good relationship with Tarkin in The New Hope. And I think that's really cool. Honestly, I really like that part. Reason number 6 is that it's great for all ages. One thing Star Wars has always been good at is the fact that it's family friendly. It's something that everyone can watch. Anyone from 8 to 80 can enjoy the hell out of Star Wars. They can absolutely love it. And that's because Star Wars is still kind of made for kids. It has a lot of the fun, lightsabers and blasters and ships. And it's not too dark. It's not, super violent or vulgar or inappropriate. So kids can enjoy it. But there's still a dark element to it. There's still tons of action and emotion and just fun that adults can enjoy. And I think Clone Wars hits the nail on the head with this one. I really think they do a great job. We see this change over different episodes. We see episodes that are very childish, that, the one with, I forget what it's called, but there's like 4 droids, and there's that weird little admiral guy, and they go on a mission. It's like 4 episodes long. It's super childish. It's funny. It's lighthearted. It's kind of weird in a way. Definitely for kids. And then we get these episodes that are super dark. The ones with Darth Maul and the Night Sisters. And all this voodoo magic. And torturing. And, all this dark stuff. And I think that's really awesome. If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you got to watch it just for this dark stuff, because it works in so many ways that it's still appropriate for kids, but adults can enjoy it. So I think any Star Wars fan, any level of fan, can and will enjoy the Clone Wars. And that's why I think it would be a very smart move for Disney to bring this back, because they can really pander to everyone. You know, they're not going down to a specific, like Rebels, for example, I think is too much pandered towards kids. And we kind of see that. Rebels is it's pretty childlike. It's definitely for kids. And Clone Wars, I think, was actually a lot more versatile in that I think everyone could enjoy it. Now, reason number 7 is probably the biggest reason, and that's the fact that there were so many great untold stories that would have been amazing to see get completed. Now, according to Brett Friedman, writer of the Clone Wars, he said that the scripts for Season 7 and 8 were already finished, but they were not animated yet. If we can convince the Disney chairman to bring back the remaining seasons, the Clone Wars will finally be back. And if you don't believe me, just go check out StarWars.com and search Clone Wars Legacy. You can find all these half-animated, clips and stories that are so close to being there. There's so much in terms of, I think there's something about Umbara, or not Umbara, Upatau, whatever that planet's called. There's episodes with Asajj Ventress. We didn't really finish her story. Episodes with Quinlan Vos, who we didn't get to see much of. And of course, the continued relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Ahsoka's story was kind of finished, but we could have seen more of that. The story with the clones, how they progressed into becoming more susceptible to Order 66. And it could have just led very nicely into Episode 3, almost in the way Rogue One led up to The New Hope. But they cut it short, and it's painful because Season 6 has 13 episodes. Called The Lost Seasons, and that's it. There's 2 more seasons in the bag that they could easily do. Disney has the resources, the money, the technology. Look, they made Frozen. Look how one of the highest budgeted animated films. They could easily make Clone Wars and make it crisp and amazing and just finish it. Just finish what they started. Or finish what Lucasfilm started, at least. Dave Filoni, he could still bring it back. We could see it, and it would be amazing. Sorry if this video was kind of a rant, kind of rambly at times, but I just wanted to get all those points out there. It's just an amazing show, and it's a shame that it's gone. And those 7 reasons were why I love it so much and why I think it would be very successful and a great idea to bring it back. In fact, I'm actually going to have the Star Wars Legacy linked in the description if you want to check that out. And just comment below, what do you think? Do you want to see this show return? Do you think it'd be a good idea for Disney to bring it back? Or maybe not. Maybe you don't like the show. Either way, in the comments down below, tell me what you think. Until next time, signing off.